Good day, my fellow Canadians. Okay, today, immigration. Now, before I get rolling on my little spiel, I'd like to get a few points made about immigration. I have nothing against immigration, nor immigrants. My grandparents were immigrants. They came to this country literally as pioneers. They came from Eastern Europe to the prairies where they were given. Now, here's where I'm a little hazy. You could either buy, I think when they came, it was $10, or you were given a quarter section of wilderness for your very own. All that were there were marker stakes. Quarter section, that's 160 acres of your very own. You had to show development within 2 years, or you'd lose the property. Granddad came here, worked like a dog, working for other more established settlers to make money to improve his property. And when he had it at least habitable, he brought my grandmother over to help him. So we're talking about true pioneers. What I'm talking about here, they never took a penny from the government. All they ever wanted was a chance to live in a freer society where they weren't beholden to a lord or a peer or nobility, where they could keep the fruits of their labors. Bear in mind, we did not have income tax, personal income tax, until World War I. So what you made, pretty well you kept, okay? I have had the good fortune to work almost my entire life with immigrants, people from literally all over the world. Many of them came here, and even friends of mine now came here with the same attitude. All we want is a chance to have a better life. We don't want handouts. We don't want to have our asses kissed. We just want a chance to make a decent living and to enjoy the fruits of our labors. Especially again the people from Eastern Europe. And Mark Muddick, if you're listening to this, kudos to you because you're exactly who I'm talking about. A friend of mine came here. He never wanted any freebies, any doles, any handouts. He never expected anything from the government. All he wanted to do was to make a decent living. My wife, same thing, grew up in the old Soviet communist, Soviet socialist republics. Oh my God. These are the people you want in this country. Hardworking, want to contribute, want to assimilate. Now, assimilation. In my parents' day, it was enforced assimilation. You could not use your name in school. You took an Anglo-Saxon name. My mother, Olena, my aunts Anastasia and Tatiana became Helen and Betty and Edna. So you could choose your English name, or the teacher would give you one, and that was your name. You could not speak your native language in school or on the school grounds, or you would get the strap, corporal punishment. That's a little draconian, okay, I grant you. But there was the push, and a very strong push, become a good Canadian. And many of them did. Learned English, not so much the new Canadians, but learned English, became part of the culture, contributed to the culture, and all they ever wanted from the government was a chance to make a decent living. That's all they wanted. My parents worked hard all their life, passed on to me. I've worked hard all my life. No one in our family screws the pooch. We've always worked. We've never taken a penny of fucking welfare. We've made our entire lives. We made our own way. Unemployment insurance, yeah, another story. But we had an immigration policy that was a sound immigration policy. Canada has always taken refugees from mercy. Okay, the World War II refugees, my parents used to refer to them as the DPs, the displaced person, disparagingly, I might say, but they were born here. My parents, I mean. But the DPs, the displaced people who came here, many of them totally bewildered, coming from an absolutely war-torn and shattered Europe. Many of them made good because of the kindness and the mercy of the Canadian people and the Canadian government. Yeah, they had to establish themselves. And when these new Canadians would come, they would gravitate to enclaves of their own. Poles would gravitate towards Polish enclaves. Chinese would gravitate towards Chinese enclaves. Korean, Japanese, French, German, Polish, Ukrainian, Russian. Of course they would. They they're in a bewilder bewildering alien government, alien environment. They want the tastes of home, the sounds of home, at least while they establish themselves. And some of them work here and worked hard. Some of the Portuguese guys I worked with at St. Mike's, they never really assimilated because they never planned to. Their plan was to live here, work hard, raise their families here, take their pension money back to Portugal, and they would live like a freaking king on the pension they'd earned at work and the Canada pension money. The two of them combined, they could live like a king in their country. And their homes and everything they built was left to their kids. Good Canadians. Good Canadians. They weren't here to rip off the system. Now, to come, if you weren't a refugee or someone from a war-torn country, if you weren't taken in out of altruism or mercy, you had to fill out an application and you had to meet certain criteria. You had to have a sponsor. Some of them came, they had sufficient assets, the government would take them. Others would be sponsored by family members, and the sponsor was responsible for that individual they brought over to this country, guaranteed them a place to stay, guaranteed them a job, guaranteed the government that they would not be a burden on the taxpayer. This was how so much of this country was built. And I've watched the change with new Canadians, new cultures coming into Canada. Fantastic. You know, taste that I had in the Middle East in like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, to go into Rexdale and try to find a kebab place or I get shish taouk or shawarmas. Yeah, try. Now, no problem. Just about any place I go, I can find it. You know, if I want the taste that I had when I was working in Saudi Arabia or overseas. The point I'm making here is we had a good, intelligent education policy, immigration policy that allowed us to cherry pick. We got good people, people who would contribute to this country, people who wanted to become Canadian, who wanted to avail themselves of the beauty of Canada, the freedom of our culture, and they wanted to become Canadian. They wanted to assimilate. They wanted to, like I said, partake of the benefits of Canadian citizenship. What have we got now? When did it change? Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Trudeau Sr., on record, as saying we have taken too many white people. And he started lowering the standards that you had to meet, and he started taking people, visible minorities. Okay? Again, a lot of them came, we're good. But before him, we never had the Jamaican posses. We never had the black crime problem we've got now in Toronto before Trudeau. What happened? You still had criteria you have to meet. But you're looking in many cases at corrupt police forces. You got a criminal who wants to come to Canada. He's got to get his criminal record signed off on. The cops can't wait. Oh, he's a good citizen, man. Get him out of here and get him into another country. Let it be their problem, no longer ours. He's not here committing crimes on our soil. He's in Canada or America or Australia or Britain committing crime. So long as we got rid of him, we'll say anything to get rid of him. Forged doctor certificates or paid off doctors who would sign a health certificate saying, oh, yeah, he's in great health. Boom. No checks and balances. We opened the doors, and good people who wanted to come here were given more roadblocks. And if you were Caucasian, you had even more roadblocks. Never mind that you would be an asset to Canada. This was the social reengineering the Liberals seemed to love to do without any forethought or common sense. Now, it has gone absolutely fucking sickeningly stupid. And we're getting into Orwellian style newspeak. They're not illegal immigrants anymore. They're irregular migrants. Bullshit. They're fucking immigrants. And in many cases, they are fucking parasites. They are here fleeing the United States. Are they being murdered in the US? Are they facing prosecution or persecution in the US? No. It's just that they get more here. And come on in, have the RCMP carry their fucking bags. Oh my God, fathers. an intelligent immigration policy. This country was built with immigration. Like I said, I have had the pleasure of both traveling overseas and working with almost my entire life. I worked with people who came from someplace else. Loved them, most of them. And the ones that fell down was never a matter of ethnicity. The ones I didn't like, it was a matter of personality. That's what you stand or fall on with me, is your personality. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what color you are. If you embrace Canada, if you embrace the Canadian ethos, the Canadian lifestyle, if you wish to become a good Canadian, as far as I'm concerned, you're my brother, you're my sister. I don't give a good rat's ass about your color or your accent. And most Canadians feel exactly the same fucking way. But the liberals are manufacturing Islamophobia and systemic racism. Bullshit. Are there racists out there? Yeah, haters gonna hate. You know, there are people who laughed at me because of my last name. Not Bosniak, Ukrainian. Ooh, bohunk. Fuck off. You know, the second generation Canadian born. You know, haters gonna hate. I gave up a long time ago getting worried about what some brainless moron thinks. I'm watching my country go down the shitter. And the liberals are at the helm of this, circling down the drain without any common sense whatsoever. Wherein lie the big flaws? There's several areas where they've really dropped the ball. This virtue signaling that they love to do. Ooh, ooh, let's open our borders. Let's become an open borders country. Sanctuary cities. Horvath wanted to make us a sanctuary province. Oh my God. The concept in and of itself is not a bad one. It's altruistic. It's noble in its way. But nobility and altruism must have an element of common sense. They did not do their due diligence in research. Do we have enough translators? Do we have enough people who understand their cultures? Do we have enough written material? A lot of these people are illiterate. Do we have enough written material even to help them assimilate to Canada, to teach them Canadian mores, Canadian standards, Canadian values, Canadian behavior, how you comport yourself here? When I worked in Saudi Arabia, I got an orientation lecture on the do's and don'ts, what is and is not acceptable, what could get me in trouble in their country. They don't do that here. Are you fucking kidding me? But that's the liberal. Oh, it might hurt their feelings or it might violate their rights. They don't even do health checks. You get tuberculosis, diseases that were eradicated in Canada are coming in. They've had this problem in the States for years. Diseases that were eradicated. There was years back, there was a Mexican food worker working in a salad bar, handling food. He had leprosy. There is a problem with illegal immigrants. And fuck this irregular migrants thing. Illegal immigrants. They are not following the protocols that were set out that would keep this country safe and secure. Solidly, I lay this whole mess solidly. There is no other place you can lay it than at the feet of the Liberal Party. People blame Trudeau. I did a post. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Stop blaming Trudeau. It's not Trudeau. He is a nothing. He's a mouthpiece. He's a chatty Cathy doll where you pull the string and it spews out noise. It is the Liberal Party. Misplaced idealism. I've seen this time and time and time again where you don't have idealists. God bless them. You have to have someone there with some practical common sense, some pragmatism to temper this idealism. Prime example, years back when the conflict was going on in Rhodesia and the African National Congress, the ANC, was fighting the white government, they made it sound like a racial thing. It was never a racial thing. It was a power thing. Take a look what Robert Mugabe did to that country when he got in power and where his ally is now. Check it out on your own. There was a, I think it was a Methodist, Christian Methodist humanitarian group. We're sending over aid, food and medicines to the ANC. Oh, it was not the ANC, was it? African National Congress, I think, was South Africa. Anyways, the rebel groups, the black rebel groups, were getting medical aid from this church groups. And they said, oh no, it's only food and medicines. It's food and medicines. It is strictly humanitarian aid for these poor people to feed the refugees, the ones who have fled into the bush. Well, guess what? One of those aid workers was a neighboring country, saw a whole pile of their stuff for sale in the bazaars. These rebels were grabbing this stuff, selling it at the bazaars, and buying, wait for it, arms and ammunition. I still remember this spokesperson for this church group crying like a betrayed virgin, but they said they were going to use it for humanitarian aid. Oh, Jesus Christ, you fucking moron. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. I don't know who wrote that, but it is absolutely true. Idiots, idiots, stupid, unworldly, moronic, idealistic idiots. And you cannot put them in charge of a fucking country. They're destroying Canada. I mean, they are destroying this country. With the compliant media, I might add, in many cases, there's some media voices that are speaking out about the crimes that are being committed here. Terrorist acts that are being glossed over. No, they were mentally ill. It's a fucking terrorist act. Call it what it is. The most infamous being the Danforth shooting. Man, they've tried to spin that he was mentally ill. Yeah, right. Rape gangs, sexual impropriety, young Canadian girls being molested, young girls being molested by Arabic men, and getting a pass on it. That guy, I brought this up in an earlier post, that third world camel fucker who was molesting those girls in the West Edmonton Mall in the pool, and gets escaped from the judge because he grew up with a different cultural standard. How is that an excuse? I went off on that on another post. I won't go back there again, but oh, it infuriates me. And the liberals are totally unaware. I don't know if it's intentional. I really don't. If they're trying to remake this country in this idealistic landscape of theirs, well, Chavez tried that in Venezuela. How'd that work out for him? You know, and these idiots, these elitist freaking morons. Oh, God, please, Canada, vote for Andrew Scheer. There's at least someone who can answer a question when he's asked, is articulate, and truly seems to love this country. Is he perfect? No. Of course not. Who is? You want perfection? Die. Go to heaven. Stand at the throne of God and say, I want perfection. There you go. That's where you'll find it. But is he the best bet we've got to get this country back on track? In my mind, 100%. NDP, I mean, they're just as stupid. They're like liberal plus in terms of stupidity. They seem to be trying to outdo the liberals. John Tory and his big yap makes Toronto a sanctuary city. What are you going to do for housing? I don't know. Do we have translators? Do we have people to help them assimilate? I don't know. You fucking moron. And then, seeing that as the example, Andrea Horwath, instead of sitting there going and saying, maybe we should rethink this. No, we want to make Ontario a sanctuary province. That's a great fucking move, isn't it? We've got a real mess in Toronto. Why don't we expand it province-wide? Yeah! And you've got some fucking idealistic snowflakes going, what a great idea. Oh, oh, my Canada, what the hell's happening? Anyways, that's my rant on immigration. Stop what's going on now. Do a total, hit the reset button. Go back to the old standards of what we had for an immigration policy, what standards had to be met. Who will be an asset to this country? Seek those people out. Welcome them as my grandparents and my friends were welcomed. Take them into this country and let them contribute and help us build moving forward. Get rid of the fucking parasites. And I use that word in its truest context, to get rid of the parasites. And let's get back on track. Go Canada. Thank you for listening.